Okay, so today we're going to make a Juliet cap, or just a vintage style hat. And so I'm going to go through the list of supplies that I'm using. So I have this 18 gauge wire. It's just a picture hanging wire, and you can get it in your local hardware store. And then I have pliers and wire cutters. It's a combination tool that you can use to cut the wire and also to help you shape it. And then we have buckram, which is going to be used for the structure of the hat, and batting, which is going to help to fill the hat out, and then the fabric for the outside of the hat, and of course the thread and a regular needle to attach all of it. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so what I have done is I have taken 3 lengths of wire and I have fitted them to my own head, since obviously it's going to be for me, and you'll want to do the same thing too. So I structured it this way because I want it to round the back of my head, and you can see that I have connected them all on the sides, and so they each are looped together, and then I crimp them down so that it will hold this shape. And the next step that I'm going to do is take a piece of buckram and I'm going to shape it over the back of the hat and then secure it on with stitching. So we'll get to that next. Okay, in this part I am adding the buckram to the frame, and you can see that I have cut the buckram into strips. Now the reason that I did this is because I don't have a form where I can steam my buckram into the correct shape, and of course I use the wire right against my own scalp to do the shaping. So obviously this tutorial is going to be for those of us who don't have any experience in hat making, haven't taken classes, don't own the equipment. So this is just to prove that you can still do these for yourself without needing to know a lot about steaming and shaping and everything like that. So what I've done is I've cut these into strips and I am just wrapping it around my wire frame, and then I'm going to take long basting stitches and I'm going to attach all of this together and then to the wire so that it is all stable. So once I get around to the edges, you're going to see that my technique changes a little bit. I am going to end up wrapping the ends so that it protects my own scalp from the wire, because I don't want anything to be exerting any pressure on the sides of my head. So I'm going to do a little bit of extra wrapping there. But you'll be able to see here, I'm getting around to that point and I'm going to end up having to cut some of this buckram and fold it over just to help to shape it some more. So really this whole exercise is just about manipulating the materials that you have. So you're just going to, shape it to yourself because you're making this for yourself. So here I am just trimming, and we're just going to fold these pieces over. It's almost like making a small dart. And I apologize, I know some of this is happening off camera, but I am trying to show you as I'm going how these are going to look. You can see how that is just lapped over. And then with these end pieces, I am just taking them and attaching them to what I've already wrapped around. And then I'm just going to fold it over the point. And I'm going to just wrap it under, and then I'm going to pin it down and of course stitch all of this down. So here you go. Okay, so here is what we have so far, and it slightly resembles a bonnet, but just keep in mind that this is not how it's going to stay. This is just your beginning point. So next I'm going to wrap this with batting, and I will secure that down, and then we'll get to the actual outside fashion fabric that it's going to be covered in. Okay, so I changed the angle on here so that you can kind of see a little bit closer what I'm doing. So with the buckram, obviously it's going to be a little more stiff, so you do want to cut those into strips to be able to form it up. And then for the actual batting, this is stretchy, so you don't need to cut it into strips. You can just do one solid piece, which is obviously going to help with the overall look of your cap in the end. So you can see that I have started to pin it, and then I'm going to stretch it in place, and I'm going to pin it to the bottom, and then I will secure it down with stitches. On the ends, because I don't want my ends to be as pointy as they are right now, I am going to fold these over and make sort of a rounded covered end here. So I will show you a little bit later what that's going to look like, but you can kind of see that I'm going to ultimately round it off here once I have use of my other hand, which is now holding the camera. So I will work on this and we'll get back to you. So you can see now I have finished attaching the batting to my hat form, and you can see that I have squared off my ends, so it's not going to be as drastic as far as the shaping is concerned. So it's just been stretched over. You can see this is the actual shape that I wanted. So now I'm going to take my piece of fashion fabric, and I'm going to stretch that over the same way that I have stretched this over, and just tack it down, and then I will attach that, and I will show you what that looks like. Okay, so you can see that I have started to form the fashion fabric over top of the batting, and it's pretty similar to, say, like easing a sleeve into a garment. So I just started pinning it down, and as I need to, I just move the pins and just kind of work the fabric down over top of the frame. And then I am going to secure the stitching to the batting underneath, and the ends, I'll just work those in and try to have as small a crease as possible. And then I will have a lining piece that I'll put on the inside here. But so far, I'm pretty happy with how this is turning out. And I think it has the level of smoothness that I was hoping for. And of course, unless I added more batting to this, you are going to be able to see this ridge here, but I am going to attempt to kind of fluff up the batting from the underside so that this is not so visible. So we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so here's the finished product. And you can see it just sits right on the back of my head, on the crown of my head, so that you can still do your hair around it. And of course you can do a lot of different variations of it. If you do any Pinterest searching or look on Etsy, you can find several different styles. The one that I have already in my collection, well, I have two in my collection. One is made from straw and one is just a satin. So of course there are so many different options. I'll turn around for you so you can see it. But the idea with this one is, of course, that I am working on building up my own handmade wardrobe. So I want to have a nice neutral color to go with a lot of different things that I have until I'm able to make more that will go with more things. So hence making this nice natural colored linen. So thank you for following along. I hope that you can make one of these for yourself, and we'll see you next time.